turning the water into wine. And I love how the guy's reaction isn't saying what people want or what he wants. He just looks at him and says, look, my son's dying, and I need your help. And his reaction is why Jesus says in that moment, because he believed his faith made his son well, is that he knew that Jesus was the only solution. Sadly, a lot of people will come to God when he's their last choice. They will try everything else before they talk to God about it. And these stories, maybe that's the case. They've tried other means. They've done other things. They've contacted other people. Nothing has helped. And when Jesus is the last choice, he's still going to deliver. But those that were following along with Jesus had a tendency to ignore these people like the ones we've talked about. In fact, they'll push them to the side. There are times that we've talked about the blind men as a great example, is they're crying out, have mercy on me. And basically the apostles are telling them to shut their mouths. They say, be quiet, be still, stop talking. You're bothering the master. And so the disciples get put out with it. And they know that Jesus is doing great work, but there are some people that, bless them, they're just annoying them. And so instead of paying attention to the people, they're thinking about getting Jesus from one city to the next. And what's the next miracle going to be? And the next thing. And so they didn't all see these individuals as souls. They saw them as just people that were complaining or people that had problems. And that can happen easily to us sometimes in the church, is we can become jaded or we can become harsh or put off by people. And there are individuals who you'll see people and you help people as many as you can, but then you'll see people and you'll be like, well, does he really need help? Does she really deserve this? You know, you almost become standoffish to some people if they just keep coming and asking for help. So in these stories, Jesus goes out of his way to help. In this story with the nobleman's son, he says, if you just go home now, he's fine. And I love that. But many of these, the apostles are seeing Jesus at work, and all of these things are going to trigger memories later on down the road. They're going to remember the things that Jesus did and why he did them. And remember, again, the crowds are starting to close in, and you might say that they may be a little claustrophobic. This is why Jesus will sometimes go, I've got to get away, and he'll go up to a mountain and pray alone. Sometimes he would go all night and pray all by himself because the crowds are pressing in. But this man wasn't just wanting a miracle for a miracle's sake. It was his own child, and it's different when we're personally impacted. God, we will bargain with God to get the answer we want. I know I tell personal stories all the time, but one that echoes in my mind, when we were in Oklahoma one time, it was a Sunday morning, and one of the guys that was traveling with us had decided he wanted to be baptized. He's my cousin's cousin. And so everybody left the hotel room. They were down there just, oh, great, which church are we going to this morning? We're going to baptize him, da-da-da-da. And I was sick as a dog in the bathroom. And have I told this story? Have y'all heard this? So anyways, my dad, when they came back to the hotel room, I was in the bathroom, and I was like passed out. I had just been so sick. And so they threw me in the car, and I only remember bits and pieces of the trip to the hospital. But one part I do remember, my dad was driving excessively fast. I mean, just majorly fast. But we'd spent time in Oklahoma, so we knew where the hospitals was. My mom actually spent time in one of the hospitals for a year doing chemo. So we were used to traveling those roads. And I remember distinctly my mom crying and praying aloud that God would take the pain and the suffering I was going through and give it to her. And I forget exactly how she worded it, but she was constantly bargaining with God. If you will let him be okay, I will take whatever pain. I will die. Let me, and I'm just kind of in and out of consciousness. But I remembered that after I woke up. After 3 days in the hospital, my first memory, they had to do colon stuff and all this stuff. I had all this, what's it called? Food poisoning. Anyways, it was like cholera and all this just nasty, crazy stuff that I got from this buffet when I learned not to eat shrimp with the heads on. So when I wake up, there's an elder from the church praying over the bed. So that was the first thing when I kind of woke up, and I realized, and of course they're like, oh, you're going to be okay. But that really resonates with me even today, that my mother was praying that God would take my pain and give it to her, my sickness and give it to her. And I'll bet this guy's the same way. God, please don't take my child. If there's anything you can do. And so he goes the distance. He travels all the way there. We get the sense that it's quite a ways off because it's almost like he says the hour of the day. So it's like the next day he had this long travel and the servant's been running this way and he's been running this way. And they meet up and they find out that it was all perfect timing. And you will find that from time to time, God will work in such a way that